Welcome to We Don't Color on the Dog. We're out with this UWF women's basketball coach, Steph Yelton. Gosh, we were just talking right before we get out. I know catching up on sleep is hard. Not a bad week for you, though. Y'all did
No,
pretty well.
yeah, we did pretty well. We're coming off of this long journey, a trip, 2-2. We wound up dropping a game in Orlando at the Disney event to a very good Central Missouri team. Then we
Mhm.
left the very next day to go to Puerto Rico and play those two in-region games. Got two really solid wins there where everybody on the roster got to play and hopefully gets to develop a little bit as we start this season. And then we just dropped a heartache one last night at Columbus State. So today is the lone day off this week and trying to prepare for conference games coming up.
Well, and it's now you get a regular home game this week
Yeah.
at a decent time, which will help.
Yes, I think, it's exciting to be back at home, kind of sleep in your own bed, prepare in your own gym, and get ready for some teams to come in to play us on Thursday and Saturday.
Now, what did you learn about your team this last week?
Well, I've learned, we still have a lot of youth on our team. It's we've got 7 freshmen and we still are taking those baby steps to growing up. You know that there's going to be difficult moments in a game that you've really got to just hunker down and get things done. And sometimes we do very well at that and sometimes we don't. But I feel like our games that we're playing gives them an opportunity to have those moments. Because if you're always just playing in practice or never in a game situation where you can develop those moments, I think that's obviously a positive for us that we're able to put some young kids in the game, give them some prime opportunities to shine in moments that are very important for us.
Well, and it is, you have to build momentum. You want to peak at the right time. I know
Yeah.
that from a little bit. And then, two, it's you're playing your players a lot. The style of
Yes.
play that you use involves all of them.
Yes. And, that's a hard thing to come together with 14 players. I mean, some are
Right.
going to play more than others, and we are honest about that and upfront about that. But we want the ones who aren't playing as much to continue to develop, like as the ones who are starting and playing a lot are continuing to develop, we need those kids that are not playing as much to continue to develop. Because you know
Mhm.
as well as I do, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if our weakest
Right.
link is sitting on our hands and not doing anything, then we've got a problem. We need all 14 players to continue to work and grow and mature. I mean, we still got a lot of basketball to play.
You do. How do you prepare for these games now? Because your team has turned over almost completely. You're going against other teams that face the same type of challenges. How do you prepare, or is it fly by the seat of your pants in the game?
It
What's
is
that
it's
balance there?
definitely not fly by the seat of your pants.
Okay.
And I think that may just be my personality, right? But no, there's a lot of game preparation that goes into every opponent. So not only myself, but my assistant coaches are assigned to a scout. We have a program that every game, every opponent that we play, their game films are on it. So early in the
Oh,
season
that's
is
great.
challenging. Yeah. So early in the season is challenging because you've only maybe got a 2 or 3 game sample. Whereas when
Mhm.
you get later in the season, you've got a 20 game sample of what this team looks like and what are their tendencies and all that good stuff. So we spend a lot of time, preparing our team by watching film, watching the opponent's personnel. What do we feel like we need to force them into? That is their weakness. We talk a lot about, not letting them be comfortable in their strengths. And so understanding that number 11 is going to be a driver, number 23 is going to be a shooter, number 22 is going to be a strong post player that we've got to box out. But yeah, I always tell our players, it doesn't matter how much I learn about the opposing team. It's how much I can get you to regurgitate and learn on your own, right? So it's a lot of studying goes in, within our current team, and they have the same access to our software that we do as coaches. So if you got kids on your team that are really kind of coach minded, they can 24 hours a day, 7 days a week access to watching game film of themselves, of their opponents, of other teams across the country. I would have loved to have had that as a player, right? In a college setting.
Mhm.
We just didn't have the access 30 years ago. And so now our players do have that access.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Coach, because you look at it, you're right. It's yeah, in the ancient days, you had someone had to send you film for you
Yes.
to, and then you would always trade film with somebody. They wouldn't give it to you on time, and you're dealing, or you'd get little clips that you'd get a VCR tape and trying to figure it out. And
Yeah,
now, I,
early.
I guess that the technology is so much better.
Yes. Yes, early in my coaching career, I sat many a days in a car driving 2 hours to meet another assistant coach to pick up a
Right,
film that couldn't get to us in FedEx time. And we spent a
right,
ton of our budget on FedEx and overnight packaging, right? I knew how to fill those
right.
labels out, efficiently. And then spent a lot of time in front of a 10 stack VCR. So 10 VCRs. One, I'm recording a tape. The 9 others are game tapes, and I'm pushing buttons to record and pause and to get it in the right order to present to the team. It was, yeah, it was challenging. Now it's all on my laptop. And so I don't have to sit in that hot, VCR film room and
Right.
sweat while all the machinery is going on. I can sit in the comfort of my office and pull it up on my laptop.
Well, and I'm just sitting here thinking because I was over the weekend. I was saying, "Well, I'm going to interview you today. What was I going to ask?" And I was thinking about you're facing players you've never seen. In the old, I mean, when you were in the ACC and you were playing at North Carolina, you knew the Duke players. You knew North Carolina. You knew them because the team stayed
Yeah.
fairly consistent. They'd get a transfer maybe or a freshman coming in, but you everything felt like it had to be a certain level of comfort. At least you knew who you were going up against.
Yeah, you
Now,
had, yes, there
yeah,
was a
go ahead.
familiarity. Yes, there was a
Right,
familiarity 30 years ago of players were in programs. They usually stayed 4 years, maybe a fifth year if they were injured, but
right,
like you said, there may be that new freshman, but give her about 3 or 4 games and you've got her figured out. But
right.
now it's, yeah, there is still a lot of new and a lot of study. And even I think from a coaching standpoint, coaches are changing the way they play, just like we have
Mhm.
to help their personnel that they're getting. Their personnel isn't it's turning over every year. So sometimes you've got to run some different things depending on the personnel that you have on your team.
Yeah, I could see. Um, I was coaching at the AAU high school level, and you knew what coaches were going to do, and the players had to fit the system. Well, now in the style of play now, it may be somewhat of a system, but it you have to adapt to what you've got on the floor.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think as a coach, if you're not flexible now more than ever, I don't know if you're going to make it, as far
Right.
as how you discipline your players, how you're building your team chemistry, what offense and defenses are you running, what does your travel look like? I mean, in all aspects of what you do, I think if you're not flexible as a head coach, you're probably not going to make it very long in this era of basketball, or you're going to
Well,
get your
and keep
feelings hurt a lot.
well, and keep your players.
Yeah.
Keep your players. I
Yeah.
mean, that's becoming a bigger part of the game than we've ever seen. Now, what do you have set up for this week? A home game on Thursday?
Home game Thursday at 5:30 against Alabama Huntsville, which is one of the teams that was voted top in our league this year. And then we've got on Saturday West Alabama, who is a much improved team. Just again, like we talked about from the transfer portal, they picked up some good
Right.
transfers that were in league transfers, and now they're playing a lot better basketball than they did last season. But that game on Saturday is going to be at 2 o'clock.
Oh, that's great. Coach, good luck this week. We'll catch up next Monday, see how it goes.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Ah,